Have you ever heard of the Midwestern Millionaire? If you haven't, don't feel bad because it's not a real thing. I've actually just made it up myself. But this is someone who has been a diligent saver. They typically have Midwestern values and they typically have $1 million saved or more. Now, to have Midwestern values, that doesn't mean that you have to live in the Midwest. We have clients all across the country, and some of them say, I'm not in the Midwest, but I have Midwestern values and I am that Midwestern millionaire. So this isn't about where you live, it's about what are your values, right? Are you hardworking? Are you frugal? Are you been a diligent saver? And if that's you and you've saved a significant amount, then this video is for you, and we're going to talk about some of the more advanced strategies. And this is the type of person that we specialize in serving best. And so in today's video, we're going to give you an overview of what all this looks like to ensure that you're making the right decisions with that hard-earned retirement that you've been planning for all of these years.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So my name is Joe Schmitz. I'm the CEO and founder of Peak Retirement Planning, and we are a retirement planning firm that specializes in serving those who are 55 to 70 and who have $1 million or more saved up. They're that Midwestern millionaire. Now, the type of person we serve, it's unique. It's something that has a high criteria because the type of planning we do, we go really deep. So we have what our signature 5-pillar approach here that really goes deep into all areas of financial planning, which is tax planning, which is the biggest pillar that we look at. And you'll see in the logo there, it's the biggest pillar. And the reason why is because taxes are going to be the biggest expense in your retirement. Typically, the people we're working with, these Midwestern millionaires, they've got a huge tax problem there that they need to make sure they're preparing for. But we also need to understand what tax planning is that impacts the rest of your plan. And so each of those other 4 pillars there, they're going to be having taxes play a part in each of those 4. And so if we start off with the investment planning, they all play together, right? If you get a 10% rate of return on investments, well, that's great, but how much is coming out for taxes? If you only get 7% because you got to pay your taxes, how well did you really do versus if you did 10%, you actually get to keep 10%. So again, tax planning is going to play a big part in there, especially if you have larger non-qualified type accounts or capital gain type investments where you're going to have to do tax loss harvesting. You're going to be making sure you need to reset those portfolios each year and making sure you're being very diligent throughout the year of how you're managing that account so you're not causing phantom gains to be an issue or you're not causing yourself to pay more capital gains than what you need to. And then obviously for income planning, it's not how much you take, it's how much you keep, right? Kind of the same concept of investment planning. And what we need to understand in retirement for these Midwestern millionaires, their planning is going to be a lot more complex. They're going to have higher amounts of Social Security. They're going to have RMDs, which are required minimum distributions that they're required to take out at either 73 or 75. And then maybe they're going to have a pension as well. And so when you factor all of those things in together, you're going to find yourself in higher tax brackets. And so income planning is going to be important because if you need $100,000 to live on, how do we make sure when we take out $100,000 that we get to keep $100,000 or we get to keep, more of it than what we've sent to the IRS, right? And so that all involves tax efficient income planning is what we're always trying to advise people of. And then you look at estate planning. Well, we don't want Uncle Sam as the beneficiary on our accounts moving forward. We want to make sure that our loved ones are the beneficiary, or maybe a charity or a church or an organization is the beneficiary, whatever your goals are. And so for these Midwestern millionaires, the more assets you have, the more important estate planning becomes. You have to maybe worry about things like estate taxes eventually. You have to make sure that you're avoiding federal taxes when leaving the money on to maybe a child because the new rules are they have to take it out in 10 years versus a stretch IRA, which goes over their lifetime. Or maybe your spouse where the widow's penalty now comes into play and where you're going to have to pay nearly double the amount of taxes. So again, all those things I mentioned are tax planning concerns, even though they have to do with estate planning and planning for that time when you're no longer here. And so that's where all this comes together, right? And then so, also the other one is healthcare planning, where long-term care, if we're going to need $100,000 a year to live on, that are we going to take that all out from our IRA where it's going to raise our tax brackets, or we're going to be more tax efficient with where our assets are so we can have the control to take that money out where we need to. Or maybe we need to worry about Medicare premiums, which are based on your income. And again, if you're going to have a high income because you had all this money in tax deferred, then you're going to maybe have to pay more for healthcare but get the same coverage for Medicare Part B and D, which most people get. And so that's going to be a consideration that you need to be aware of. And so again, yeah, it's healthcare planning, but it all stems on this pillar of tax planning. And again, that's why we emphasize that it's important to work with a team that specializes in a comprehensive approach, but also is the foundation is tax planning, and they're looking at softwares, they're looking at reports, they're looking at calculators to make sure you're making the right decision there. And so for our clients, that Midwestern Millionaire, that's really what's most important to them, is making sure they're not missing anything. Again, who is that Midwestern Millionaire? It's the person who has done everything right up until this point. They've saved enough money, they've made the right decisions, and then they get to this point of retirement, or maybe they're close to retirement, where the game changes. Things now get a lot more complex, and also the mistakes get a lot more costly because you don't have an income to cover up anymore. You now have Social Security, which causes more planning considerations. You have Medicare now. You have the increased cost of Medicare potentially, like we talked about. You now have these required minimum distributions that you have to be aware of. Healthcare costs may rise that you have to come up with money for. You now have to create your own income. You may not want to be as aggressive with your investments at this point in time, because maybe you're now needing to take from them versus just having them grow and accumulate over all the years. So again, you can see how all these complexities come together. And for this Midwestern Millionaire, their complexities are going to be more than the average person. If you find yourself with $1 million or more at this point in your life, you're going to be in the top 10% in the entire country. And so again, this is a unique crowd that you're in. So the type of advice that you're going to be needing or taking is going to be different than many of your peers. Many of your peers, if maybe they only have $100,000 saved up, their main goal is probably just to live on Social Security and hope that they can make it, right? But if you have more saved up, now you have tax issues, now you have income, how are we going to get the income? And so I'm making it sound like you have a bunch of issues. You're actually in a great spot. You're just having some planning issues, right? And so typically what we tell our clients and the people we work with is you may not need more money at this point. You may just need a better plan. Right? You may not need to keep, saving. You just may need to avoid mistakes, avoid risks, or preserve or protect your wealth through that 5-pillar approach that we talked about. And so again, it just comes out to having a written plan, having a team to make sure that you're not missing anything. And with these Midwestern Millionaires, like I talked about, they typically have tax problems, right? They have most of their money in tax deferred, or maybe they've got a lot in a brokerage account that has capital gains that's subject to. And so they typically also hate taxes. And if they hate taxes like me, they've probably read my book called I Hate Taxes, which is an Amazon bestseller. And in this book, I talk about, for the Midwestern Millionaire, what can you do to reduce your tax burden over retirement? Now that you have this unique situation, what are the strategies, what are the things that you can do to leave yourself in a better position? And so that's something we talk about in that book. And if that's something that you would want to read further, there should be a link in the description below for watching the video. You can actually go in and get that. There's no cost for it, and we'll send you that book to give you the opportunity to improve your situation there. And a lot of times we see if this person has worked with an advisor over all the years, maybe their advisors never specialize in tax planning. If you get to this point in retirement and all your money is in tax deferred and you don't have any in Roth or tax-free type vehicles, then you may have been missing opportunities, right? And so we see a lot of people who come to us are in that situation. And we always tell them that, hey, look, it is unfortunate that you've missed the opportunity, especially since 2017 when tax rates have been lower, right? Because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act enacted in 2017. But the good news is this tax bill is actually good for 2 more years until 2026. The key is we got to take advantage of it now. We got to start getting ahead of this, is the opportunity that we have at our fingertips. And so again, just proper planning, working with the right team who specializes in tax planning, takes that approach, is going to allow you to not miss those types of opportunities, to make sure that you can get ahead of it and start being more proactive with your type of planning. Because there are a lot of advisors out there that just may not specialize in tax planning side of things. And many of these Midwestern Millionaires that we work with, they're typically to a point in their life where they want to delegate. They don't want to plan their retirement. They don't want to be responsible for potentially making mistakes or reading the tax code every day or checking their investments every day. Many of the clients we work with, they've been very hands-on with their retirement planning, or maybe they've been hands-on on accumulating all those years, and they've typically done a really good job. But they come to us because they say, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything, and I want to enjoy my retirement. And also they come to us and say that I want to make sure my spouse is taken care of if something happens to me, if maybe they are more hands-on. And they want to make sure their family's taken care of because, again, they've done all the right things. This is so important to them that they don't want to miss anything. And that's where this opportunity can come into play. And, a lot of these people we work with, again, with a higher amount of money, they may not be able to spend all the money. So we actually tell them and encourage them, go spend your money. Because these Midwestern Millionaires are the best savers, but the worst spenders. And so every year when we meet with our clients, we're telling them, what trips did you go on? You said you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Have you done that? And typically a lot of times they say, I just haven't got around to it, right? And I'm the same way. I'm extremely frugal. I don't like necessarily spending money, but you do have to understand at this point in your life that you have the opportunity to spend money if you'd like to. You don't have to. Maybe it doesn't give you joy, but you can. And you have to understand that if you don't spend your money, where's it going? I mean, you can't take it with you. And so it's either you leave it to your kids, a charity, or you spend it. And so you need to start thinking more intentionally about that if that's you, because you may not ever spend all your money because you've done so well up to this point. So we look to have what's called a purpose of money conversation with our clients who have $1 million or more, this Midwestern Millionaire, because we want to see them live out and enjoy what they've worked so hard for. I mean, what's the use if you work hard for it and you don't ever get to enjoy it or see the value of it? Maybe it's not spending, but maybe it's given to charities, or maybe it's leaving more to families so you can have generational wealth moving forward, so your family never has to worry about opportunities. You've set your entire family up to say it's on you to be successful now because we've provided the financial resources to do so. And I'm sure you've put in them the values and the work ethic and the things they need to know to be successful. And so you're just providing the resources and tools to make sure that that happens. And so again, what we recommend, for these Midwestern Millionaires is you need to work with a team who knows your situation, someone who works with people just like you every single day. And we like to recommend what's called that family office approach, a collaborative approach. And this is called a family office because you're going to be working with more than one professional in this office. You're going to be, the advisor, the financial planner is going to be collaborating with the CPA, with the estate planning attorney, with the Medicare specialist, with the health insurance specialist, whoever you need on that team there for your situation. Working within an office who does that 5-pillar approach, who does that comprehensive planning, you're not going to have to go to different places. You're not going to have to worry about your CPA not talking to your financial planner or not talking to your estate planner, and it's going to take you way more time to get it done, and it may not get done the right way because no one's talking to each other, and you may not know what questions to ask or how to do it. And so again, working with this all-encompassing team, make sure you don't miss anything, and it makes it a lot easier on you. And you also probably could save money through it as well, by only paying that, one all-inclusive fee, or depending on how they're structured there. And typically, this is a service that may not be offered to that 1 million to 10 million range. Typically, it's only for those who maybe have 20 million or 30 million or more. But the good news now is that there are firms out there that are starting to make this more accessible for those with $1 million to $10 million, for example. And so this is a service that typically costs $100,000 for those people with 30 million or more, for example. A lot of firms, like ourselves, are trying to offer this approach to those with 1 to 10 million, for example, to make sure that they are getting the type of planning that they're needing to and getting that comprehensive approach. And so just make sure your team is doing that amount of work, because you could be paying the same fee with a team that only does investment management. You could pay the same fee to a team that does investment management, but also does all the other planning that you're looking for there. So just make sure you're looking for the right person there. And if you do like what we're saying here and you feel like you could be a good fit to work with us, then go ahead and schedule a time with us and we can explore further to see if we could be a good fit. We do have a lot of people who reach out to us from this YouTube channel. We can't bring on everyone we meet with, but if we find that someone's a good fit for us and we feel like what they're needing is what we specialize in, then we can explore further what it would look like to work with us and see if it could be a good fit. And so if you would like that opportunity, in the description below you'll actually see a link to schedule a time with our team. And there'll be a questionnaire to fill out there to see if we could be a good fit. And if so, we'll schedule that call and we'll have a conversation and see where you're at and see, where you should go from here. And, whether we can help you or not, if maybe we can't help, maybe we're not the best fit, we'll at least guide you in the right direction, or making sure that you have the right team in place if we don't feel like we can serve you ongoing. And so the key, though, is you're in a unique situation and you need more unique planning. And that's what our hope for you is that you can get.